I'm at Holy Cross Cemetery now in Culver City, and I'm at Sharon Tate's grave, obviously, and Sharon's mother, and Sharon's sister, and Roman and Sharon's baby. Now, last year, God, it was even more than a year ago, I think, that Deborah Tate offered up Sharon's personal items for auction. But one of the things that Deborah very generously made available to us was were Sharon's eyelashes. So I thought I would just bring them back for a quick visit. Those iconic eyes and those iconic lashes. But the reason I'm here at the cemetery today, not just for this, is I'm going to tell you a story about a man who died very shortly after Sharon did. So we're at the grave of the father of the Lennon sisters, William Lennon, and you can see that he died in 1969. What really struck me about William Lennon was that he died probably I figured it out exactly, 108 hours after Sharon Tate was murdered. And it was such a bizarre death that they actually thought it might be associated with the murders for a while, because it went unsolved for as long as it did. So I found this tabloid, and it's called TV Movies Today. It's dated December of 1969. It tells the story of the Lennon sisters' murder, and I'm going to read it to you now. Hollywood today is a community paralyzed by panic. Trained German Shepherd guard dogs, which used to sell for $500 each, would now bring $1,000 if there were any more available. Single women have applied for pistol permits faster than the police can supply them, and once granted, they sleep with them, loaded, tucked beside the bed. Oddly enough, it was not the bloody murders of Sharon Tate and her 4 companions that touched off the terror. Gruesome as they were, when William Lennon, 53, father of the 4 singing Lennon sisters, was gunned down in broad daylight in the quiet suburb of Venice, terror took over. Hollywood celebrities and their relatives have always been plagued by crank calls and claims. Sandra Dee, Debbie Reynolds, Liz Taylor, all in their heyday had those to share. Lately, it's been the Lennons' turn. Peggy Lennon, in particular, had reportedly been singled out by a one-time mental patient who thought she was his wife and wanted to reclaim her. According to insiders, the man had written and threatened both then-President Johnson and now President Nixon if they didn't heed his pleas to help them with what he thought was his marriage problem. Ironically, a movie magazine was on sale last August with this full story. They ended the article with the poignant paragraph, "At this point, with fear and trepidation, the Lennons can only sit and wait and wonder and pray to God that the man will leave them in peace." Some man did not. On August 12th, Bill Lennon was shot dead as he left the Marina del Rey golf course where he was employed as a club pro. Bill Lennon, who was pronounced dead at the scene, was the president of the Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce, as well as the manager of their daughters' fabulous careers. Before the girls were married, the family had lived together in a modest home in Venice. As the family grew and more rooms were needed, he financed them by lining up small-paying singing jobs for his 4 oldest girls. At an Elks Club do, they were heard by Lawrence Welk Jr., and one of the miracles of show business began. Bill, who was once a professional singer himself, considered the Lennon sisters' own TV show, which airs on ABC Friday nights beginning September 26th, to be the climax of their career and his. He won't see it, but they'll be there singing their hearts out for him. This is the Long Beach Independent, dated Wednesday, August 13th, 1969. And this is the headline about William Lennon being killed. And where he was killed was a golf course that stood where that Toyota dealership is now in Marina del Rey, California. This was called the Marina del Rey Golf Range, and it's 4360 Lincoln Boulevard. Bill Lennon was shot dead as he left the Marina del Rey golf course where he was employed as a golf pro. According to eyewitnesses, a man who stood about 6 feet 2 inches tall and had a heavy growth of beard, along with brown but sun-bleached hair, was waiting in the parking lot when Lennon left shortly after noon.
The assailant jumped from behind a car, pulled a rifle from a gunny sack, and an argument and a struggle ensued. Reportedly, the man swore at Mr. Lennon, and he swore back, and there was a struggle for the gun. One shot went wild. Lennon shouted, "No, no, don't do it. Help, help." He ran for the entrance to the parking lot. Another shot hit him. He staggered, veered toward a corner fence, and then was shot in the back. As he crawled along the ground, the man ran to him, placed the gun against his ear, and fired a final time. The man then ran to another parking lot, threw the rifle in the trunk of a car, and sped off. One of those who rushed out to see what the shooting was all about was Lennon's teenage son, Daniel, who also worked at the golf range as a golf ball boy. And that golf range stood there. Interestingly, Cedar Sinai is also located over here. They're Marina Del Rey offices. And this is where Florence Henderson passed away. Here's a photograph of the Lennon sisters standing in front of their Venice home. And there's the Venice home. Now, around 1964, Chester W.H. Young, a former Air Force officer and current homicidal maniac, began writing the Lennon family here. He was infatuated with Peggy Lennon and often referred to her as his true wife. He had appeared at the Lennons' front steps here, and the police were called, but his visits and calls and letters persisted. Even the Secret Service took notice in 1965 when he threatened President L.B. Johnson for not intervening to allow him to wed Peggy, even though he claimed that she was his wife already. But this is a cool house. So, no doubt the Lennon sisters prepared for their father's funeral in this house. And then left this house, probably on foot, I'm imagining. To the family church, which is just directly at the end of the street. What a horrible walk that would have been. So the Church of St. Mark, I mean, their heads must have been reeling, not knowing what the hell was going on. I mean, Sharon Tate was murdered 108, I figured out 108 hours before he was. And, you know, what the hell? Nobody knew what was going on around here. It was just crazy. So his casket would have been brought in those doors. It was August 15th of 1969 when his funeral was held here. It was attended by 1,000 mourners, including Jimmy Durante and Lawrence Welk. Lawrence Welk, who was largely responsible for the success of their careers. And they were going to be venturing into Jimmy Durante's new television program. They were sort of going to begin, I believe, that week, or within a couple of weeks is when the Jimmy Durante program was going to begin. His body was taken to Holy Cross Cemetery.
There were more than 1,000 people at his funeral on August 15th. The Lennons, led by Sis, that's what Bill always called his bride, Diane, Peggy, Kathy, Janet, and their families, and the youngest children heard Monsignor Edmund Wade of their parish church eulogize Bill as a champion of personal integrity who knew it did not profit a man to gain the world if he lost his soul. Listening with them was Jimmy Durante, who said Bill didn't have an enemy in the world, Lawrence Welk, and many members of his band who had watched over the girls as they grew to womanhood. Though the family had requested that flowers be omitted and donations sent to the Save Our Sports Fund, a drive to rescue the athletic programs in the Los Angeles City school system, more than 40 wreaths and bouquets surrounded Lennon's grave. When the service was over, Diane smiled a brave smile, her father's smile, and told her brothers and sisters, "He's waiting for us all up there right now. He's looking down saying, 'Why are they so sad?'" Besides the celebrities, the friends, and family, there were others at the funeral, hard-eyed, plain-clothes men watching for the suspect. There is an all-points bulletin out for a 40-year-old 210-pounder with scraggly hair and a beard, last seen driving a 1962 or 63 Oldsmobile Cutlass. They later identified the suspect as Chet W.H. Young. Is he the crank who had been bothering the Lennons and the presidents? Police aren't talking. Bill Lennon's brother Jimmy, an announcer, believes he is, and he's given the authorities what leads he can. For most of the Lennon family, not revenge but remembrance fills their minds. You'll hear it in their voices this fall.
2 months after the murder, on October 11, 1969, Chet Young was found in his car trunk parked in the High Sierra. He rigged a hose to kill himself with carbon monoxide fumes, but when that failed, he chose to shoot himself with the murder weapon that he used on Bill Lennon. He left 2 letters, one addressed to Peggy and one addressed to whom it may concern. Young referred to Peggy Lennon as his wife again and asked her to explain to the children that he took his life because they could not be together. Young explained, "It was not easy to wait until high noon to kill Bill Lennon, who instigated so many of the crimes. I was certainly justifiable, and the least I could do as a husband and father." The sisters later uncovered an unopened letter with a cutout of their father Bill, a picture of a gun pointed at his head, and the words, "High noon," the time of the murder.
These are clips from the Lawrence Welk Resort near San Diego that my buddy Harry took for me. Thanks, Harry. And thanks, Harry, for being a Patreon. I really appreciate it. I want to especially thank Jessica Hubbard. Very kind of you, Jessica. Rory Joy, James Smith, Renee Massey, Nick Nicholson, Jason McKittrick, Chris Harris, Glenn Heppard, Shannon Mead, Scarlett, Julie Cooley, Laura Furman, Shell, J82, Matthew Marie, and Tony Miller. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting my work. There's a Patreon link below. There's also a PayPal link below. I legitimately appreciate it and really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting me. I'm glad you enjoy this stuff. And until next time, this is Scott with Dearly Departed.